Pezza, 50 over cricket. I'm very confused about many things in this game. Basically, anytime India win a game, I just think like, fuck, they've got heaps of really good players. They should win every game. And then I also like watch a game of 50 over cricket and I'm like, what the fuck is 50 over cricket? I'm very confused by it. And then I also like look at the Australian lineup, like this Australian lineup. I'm like, are Australia good? Are Australia, like what? Like individually, every single player, fucking gun. Like such, like, but then look at the team and I'm like, is that good? Is it, can they do some things in games? Like sometimes, let's find out. I don't know. Anyway, welcome back to TGC. TGC is powered by CRED. Throughout the time that Pez and I were in India during the Border Gavaskar Trophy, TGC was powered indeed by CRED using the scan and pay feature on the CRED app. It's rewards deluxe. Let's go back to what I was talking about earlier, Pez. 50 over cricket, what is it?
It's obviously that's the philosophical question of our time, not just for cricket lovers, but any participant in society. And particularly when it comes to India versus Australia, he goes, because like watching this game last night, once again, every ball devoured gleefully.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've seen like both like every match between Australia and India in coloured clothing and also no matches between them. Like this stuff is like wallpaper, you know, like, but very meaningful and highly regarded wallpaper if your team wins. So like you know, vinyl coated material, soft tones, muted backgrounds. Right. And last night was no different. Like, obviously last night was the big one, between Australia and India at the 1KD, and both teams off, you know, on a 6-7 match winning streak, respectively. Australia knocked over England, who were drunk, and India have probably beaten some good teams or some shit. And but I was amazed to learn that they haven't played an ODI against each other since 2020, like since late 2020. Really? And I was like, mate, don't these guys play every week in ODIs? You know, so. Yeah. I was really geared up and pumped up for this game to start. Like, kept looking at my watch, couldn't wait for the 7 p.m. Start here on the east coast of Australia. And you know, and then I you know, all I want when I tune in to, and I don't even mean this, but I'm too much in the momentum of this now. But like, all I want with an Indian ODI is roads and 300 plus scores. And now India decides to give us decks where every discipline gets a go. Like, I don't get it. You know, I'm seeing good batsmen score runs. I'm seeing seam bowlers get a fucking go, and I'm seeing spinners do the business. One of them is a player of the match. You know, I see good fielding, and I'm like, I don't want to go down that path.
Mate, I did not see a single political figure on the field, and I was fucking. I turned off. I was like, "Fuck this!" I've just seen Collingwood kick 8 goals straight, so I'm off, mate. I'm off it. It's not for me, this stuff. I mean, Archimedes famously pondered what is 50 over cricket, and this game in many ways was like it was T20 cricket elongated. It was Test match cricket fast forward. It was somewhere in between a Test match and a 20 over game. Sort of went for sort of one day, if you will, and I know that you will. There was something in it for everyone, and I suppose good players did some stuff. But like talking about Australia, Pez, like when I look at the lineup, I'm like, I don't think that's very good. But then I see them go out and play cricket, and they're like, oh, they're all really good. But I just look at the team, and I'm like, I don't think that's a very good team. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Like, yeah, taken as individuals, you're like, oh, they all have good YouTube highlight reels and have done some shit. When they're at their best, and then from that, like, Stoinis now bats 8 and opens the bowling. You're like, okay, that's what happens now. Right. But I think it says something about this series in general. Like, it's a good series insofar as like it's a couple of one-day matches in the place that's going to be hosting a tournament where one-day matches matter once every 4 years. And I get the feeling it's going to be lots of chopping and changing going around. So but it was difficult to make sense of the game, and I think that speaks to the general decline of the format and the experimentation that happens therein, and I'm only saying that because Australia lost.
Yeah, and this is basically a warm up for the IPL, of course. By the way, India won the game by 5 wickets. So Australia made 191 or something like that, 189, something like that. And they lost 8 for about 70, and that made me feel really good. I was like, okay, so it can still happen. It can still happen. And like Mitch Marsh hit 81 of 65, opening the batting with Travis Head. And Mitch Marsh just like now has like I found it very interesting, like with Mitch Marsh and KL Rahul in this game, where like these two guys are world-class performers and they have like amazing individual performances and like the highest of highs. And between them, they have very interesting careers where like they, for whatever reason, are like this echelon below like the top guys. Though Mitch Marsh might, as an example, just to start with Mitch Marsh, because Australia batted first, like Mitch Marsh actually might be Australia's best white ball player. He actually might be our best white ball batter, and maybe has been for a couple of years. He's just come back from ankle surgery. I think he was not fully fit in the last World Cup in Australia, but he posts numbers consistently. But I think in the Australian mindset is like Mitch Marsh, Shaun Marsh, never made it in the Test team, so like. Do you know what I mean? But like he's fucking 81. He was cruising. He's cruising today. I guess what I'm saying is Mitch Marsh is good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he hit 81 of 65 in a low-scoring game. Yeah, he's good. He batted really well. He was bouging blokes over their heads and flicking balls everywhere, and he sped up after he made his 50. He took down Kuldeep, I think they Kuldeep play, and he. It put into context the quality of the innings, given that like pretty much every other player bar KL Rahul and Jadeja laboured on that deck. So, and on the topic of KL Rahul, I do think it's going to be difficult to fans to criticise his performance from KL Rahul. But who also kept really well, and you're wondering, is that an option for the World Test Championship final? Given that Bharat probably underwhelmed. Is that an option to get him back in, or will he be exiled as he has been socially in the country in various parts of it anyway? But yeah, man, Australia 129 for 2 after 20 overs. It's all looking very like at that moment in time. I was kind of like, Steve Smith really laboured at the crease, and then Australia's all out 188, and basically the ball hooped around all game, and it was obviously a tricky deck, but India's quicks out-bowled ours, with the exception of Stark, and then Jadeja and KL Rahul showed how it was done, and that was ultimately the difference. It was a pretty comfortable win for India, and I don't, like with so many one-dayers, I don't know what it means, and I think that one thing that stuck out to me with this game is that like both teams maintained a pretty healthy run rate despite losing, like even though there was carnage going on in terms of wickets falling. And it just leaves me think, like, I wonder if that's the England effect in a way. It's kind of like, what's the point of like ticking along for your 275s, your 280s? It's not going to be enough in the next Olympic Games. You know what I mean? I run the 100 in 10.3. Sorry, son, you're going to need to go 9.7 to get gold. And then that's what England's done to the game. It's like you've got to throb all innings. Like you just must be a team of throbbers who continue to throb in spite of wickets falling. And Australia tried to throb and they just went limp, and India, because they were chasing, they were 4 for shit too, and but ended up kind of they just kept it ticking over as well and got the runs with like 60 balls to spare or some shit. There's the summary.
Yeah, I think they ended up being 4 for 39 or 39 for 4. But I think there was a LBW shout off Sean Abbott off Shubman Gill. I think it was given out on the field, and Shubman referred to that. Would have made it 20 for 4, and that would have made no difference because India won 5 down. But yeah, like it seems sort of trite to talk about Mitchell Stark, given that like Shami triggered the collapse for Australia in the team that won the game. But like fucking hell, Mitchell Stark is like. It's fucking electric, isn't it? Like he's a guy that spent so much. He's focused so much on his Test career in the last few years. Obviously, hasn't played IPL and all that kind of stuff. But he's a guy who's like focused on his red ball cricket. But fuck, white ball Mitchell Stark. Fuck, it's up there with fucking like best ever shit. Like for like in terms of an Australian sense, like it's so fucking good, and it's decking and it's swinging and he's hitting pads and it's fucking slapping into Josh Inglis's different to Joss Inglis's, into the mitts, and it's exciting. Like, it's fucking electric. And like, I've actually got his figures here because I'm looking at the scorecard. His figures finished being 3 for 49. He's strike bowler, wicket taker, but like, fuck, it's sexy stuff with Stark. Like, new white ball hooping, hitting Coley in the pads. Fuck, that's good. And we lost by 5 wickets.
Yeah.
So
And Shami was 3 for 17. Yeah, I thought he bowled pretty well. Anyway, I thought
exactly.
Did you hear the hush over the 180 when Shami knocked over their boy Green with one of the best balls you'll see? It was an absolute fucking rip snorter of a ball, and you could see that the Mumbai faithful were not happy that Green was removed. I also know, look, other important things from the game. Shub McGill's got himself into slip, or at least a first slip, or 1.5. Which I think is a big. I just want to watch this space in terms of the socio-political hierarchy developing in the India side. And the other thing I want to note, and an important thing to note, is did you notice the boundary, like the boundary riders who weren't playing, picking up the ball inside the rope before it hit the rope?
Yeah.
Now,
fuck's that.
That has to fucking stop immediately. I find that, and I'm sure anybody's played the game, I find that deeply triggering from an aesthetic, from a completion, from a lick of the tism perspective, and I'm sorry, this isn't an India-Australia tribal thing. How's an Indian batter meant to feel? You smoke 1 for 4, you can't even watch it crash into that weird triangular padding. Just stop it.
It's like hitting in the back of the net.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
Don't touch it. Let it hit the rope and then get it. Okay? Fuck.
Also, one thing I want to highlight is when KL Rahul got his 50, Virat Kohli was clapping it with a teacup. It might have been the smallest teacup I've ever seen. I'm not sure what's in that.
That's class.
Is it a herbal situation?
It's a herbal situation, but I also wondered if
that's class.
I actually wondered if
from a United fan.
From a United fan. Did you note also he was like, look, and I can't pull this off as you can see, but like. He was holding it above his head, and because one hand was keeping the teacup still, the other hand was clapping silently the teacup. It was kind of like an isometric exercise for his bicep, and I thought it just protruded that bicep just so in a way that I really like. So I've only got positive things to say about the way Kohli did that. I don't know. Well, some other questions he goes from the Australian perspective is
okay.
Smith and Labuschagne, are they realistic prospects in the same ODI side? Because I just think if you want to win in India, you've got to throb. That is unless India's decided now that the only way to take England down in the World Cup is to produce these decks where you need to make 108, where 250 will do the job. Is this what we're seeing? Are we seeing a reversal? Well, this is no sledge on the BCCI. We know that decks are ordered in. Like it is their prerogative. There is no law against it. That shouldn't be taken as any kind of jibe. Now, if you do order the deck in and you want it to increase your strengths, then and amplify the opponent's weaknesses, and if you accept that England's the best white ball team in the world, which most should, and that England want to just throb, then the way to make them go limp is to make the decks tricky. So perhaps that's what we're saying.
Australia played without Warner or Carey in this game. Interesting to see what they do with Inglis if he would actually play instead of a Labuschagne, not to confuse with M Labuschagne. I don't like Marnus anywhere near the white ball setup. For me, I'm just saying. For me, I can just about see a Steve Smith in there. Someone like a Steve Smith, I don't like it feels very 2007. To me, that mode of cricket. If you want to get into hashtag ASKTGC, Pez, if you want to get your hashtag ASKTGC, drop it in the comments below and we'll read it out after the second ODI, which is on Sunday night. Born for Drama, Pez, Roach, how much more views do you wish to garner using Our India? Thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? I got heaps of thoughts about that question.
It's very existential. Yeah.
It really is a beautiful question, and it kind of for those who saw our latest vlog, like and it was a question that was asked a couple of times, is like, would you prefer to win or would you prefer views? You know, and like, it's got a lot of tenets and premises like built in underneath it. And now I suppose what we're hearing from, what's his name?
Born for Drama,
Born for Drama, all that makes sense. Is I suppose the underlying idea there is that if we cover the cricket and India is in it and lots of people watch it, that we are using them. I mean, I've always thought about that, you know, like, I don't want to go right into it, but like, what are you meant to do? Does that question apply to every journalist or every storyteller who covers a particular phenomenon? That if somebody views what you say, your narration of it, that you're using, I mean, maybe you are using them. Like we are all, as storytellers, we're all just parasites onto the actual event taking place. We're just bacteria, parasites bolted on to the actual event, and we are simply using that event. But I don't know, like what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Just don't cover them?
Yeah, the alternative is that we just finish the video now and close down the channel. So I think that's what's.
Or like maybe you can is using India. Like, do we just cover cricket from inside a cardboard box, completely pitch black? You don't get to see the game, and you just kind of imagine what happens. And in that game, India also wins.
Whatever the answer, India wins all the time, and then people get upset about your reaction to that happening, even though you're watching anything with your own eyes. But if you watch things with your own eyes, then you comment on the things that you can see with your own eyes, and people are like, that's not happening, that's not a thing that's happening. So it's very hard to live your life that way, but I'm now going to go and kill myself. See you later.